Well, a very good afternoon to you, Liesl, and to the viewers. Yes, indeed, we're coming from the provincial head offices of the IEC here in the Eastern Cape, where we are to engage with the IEC on how have the 2 days been. As you recall that at 5 o'clock, this comes to an end for now, and that we've heard from the IEC that at least 12 voting stations were disrupted due to service delivery related votes. But without further ado, let's bring in the Provincial Electoral Officer, Mrs. Khayakazi Magudumana. Ma'am, thanks a lot for your time. How have you done for this weekend?
Good afternoon. Thanks for having us. Well, we have had disruptions. Yesterday, there are 6 stations that did not open at all. And this morning, we continue to experience community protests in the various regions of the province. We are currently having 11 stations that are not open, 12 rather, stations that are not open. 6 of the stations are in the Krisani region, 5 in OR Tambo, and 1 in Alfrenzo.
And ma'am, despite your efforts of roping in the South African police services, that still hasn't happened.
By the look of things, it doesn't happen. Remember that during an election, during registration, we do patrols, or SAPS members do patrols. They are not necessarily deployed to the stations. But this morning, we had a meeting with the SAPS, and the plan was to have deployments in the stations, and there's been delays. So out of the 14 stations that we were on the list of people to be deployed to stations, we still have 5 stations out of those still without the SAPS members currently. So because of the threats that our staff has been receiving from these protesters, we are unable to open those stations without the security that we need. And remember that there was even areas where our material was actually snatched from our registration staff and burnt as well. As a result, there are 2 people that are behind bars who will actually be before the judges on Monday. So it has been a hassle for us in those areas, but we cannot focus on just those 12. Remember, we have 4,868 stations in the province, and all other stations beside the 12 that we are referring to are indeed open and operating fully so.
And let's talk about the seriousness on the threats of your staff that you've deployed on this, in these areas, in this voting, to process the registration. Has anyone been injured, or has anyone been gruesomely affected by this?
Not at all. Remember, we deploy or we employ registration staff from the localities where they're going to work, so they cannot harm their own. That is the advantage that we're having as a commission. So there's no one that has been injured in what has been happening, with the exception of 1 station where they actually came and locked them in with a different padlock, and they could not actually open in one of the stations that did not open yesterday, and they were locked there for half a day. And it's a station where there's no network, so we're unable to even assist them because we didn't know what was happening until the area manager was able to visit the station and found out that they've been locked in by the community with the material, and they were not operational.
Okay. Another option would be the online portal, but we do understand that there are areas which have internet connectivity. How did you deal with that, with such that ones that don't have access to the internet?
People that don't have access to the internet, remember, this is not the last day of registration. We are continuing to register people in our offices that open between 8 and 5 every day until proclamation day. So we're appealing to those that were unable to register this weekend to actually visit our stations, our MU offices from tomorrow.
Talk to us about the areas which saw high numbers without you getting into those numbers, as you are saying that it will be announced by national. But yesterday here in the Eastern Cape, the NMB, the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, was quite dominant. Is that the case still today?
Looking at the figures, yes, that's still the case, and it's always been. The 2 metros will be having high numbers, and we also saw EC 153 that is in Rosa Hill in the OR Tambo region with high numbers as well. But interestingly, there is also a report of over 480 young people that were registered only in Port St. John's. That is according to the yesterday's report, which is very exciting for us. So remember that we've been saying as a commission we are struggling when it comes to the age band of 18 to 21. And with what has happened in the last registration weekend and looking at the figures of what is transmitted from yesterday's reporting, we are indeed looking at different figures when it comes to youngsters in that age band of 18 and 21. So this is quite encouraging. And remember that youth, we saying to the IEC all these years, please make a facility where we can be able to actually register ourselves online. And I think they are also taking this opportunity and actually making sure that they register online.
Thanks a lot for your time, ma'am, and all the best going forward.
Thank you, sir.
Well, that was the Provincial Electoral Officer here in the Eastern Cape, which is Khayakazi Magudumana, telling us about how the weekend went. And despite everything, despite those 12 that had interruptions and disruptions, she's saying that they are happy with how things turned out during this time around.